Hello, welcome everyone to the UniSAFE webinar, Create Successful Awareness-Raising Campaigns on Gender-Based Violence at Your University. We are having more people joining us as we have already started. Please note that this webinar is recorded and your microphones will be muted during the webinar, but you may leave your cameras on if you want. It will be lovely to see faces and reactions if possible. Please note that even though the webinar is recorded, we won't record your video. Only the speakers' contributions will be recorded and will be uploaded on YouTube. This is for your privacy. For the questions and answer session, you may type your questions in the chat box during the sessions, and then during the Q&A, we will try to address them directly, and if not possible, we will collect them after the session and we will send you answers. Kindly keep your questions as concise and prompt as possible to ensure that everyone has a chance to participate. Today, I'm here with my colleague, Panayota. My name is Vasia Madesi, and we are both from the Yellow Window team. Panayota, if you want to say a brief hi.
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. Welcome, and we hope for you.
Thank you. The rationale behind today's webinar is to achieve actually two objectives. The first is to learn how to organize and set up successful awareness-raising campaigns on gender-based violence with the presentation of a step-by-step guide which has been created by the UniSAFE team, and it will be part of the toolkit that we are preparing. And then the mutual learning and exchange to get inspiration from each other. So we'll have the presentation of two successful practices from European universities. Before we start with the presentations, we will have a short intro by our colleague Colette from the coordination team that will explain a little bit more about the UniSAFE project, and then we will move on the step-by-step guide for organizing the awareness-raising campaigns. We will continue with the inspiring practice of the University of Namur, and we will have one more practice from the University of Geneva. We will close with a Q&A session. Thank you, and I will pass the floor now to Colette. Colette, if you want to share your screen. Thank you.
Yes, good morning to everyone. So if you're here, it's probably because you've already heard about UniSAFE at one point. But I'd just like, before to carry on, I'd just like to give you a brief general overview about what UniSAFE is about and what UniSAFE has been doing and what we'll soon be doing afterwards. So UniSAFE is a project funded by the European Commission under the Horizon 2020 framework and aims to build a knowledge base and operational tools to make universities and research organizations safe. It's a 3-year project ending in January 2024, structured in 8 work packages with a consortium of 9 partners. So the objectives are to go from generating knowledge to producing tools and recommendations. So we aim to understand the context by collecting evidence and identifying gaps in previous studies and existing data on gender-based violence. We aim to collect evidence by gathering and analyzing quantitative and qualitative evidence of gender-based violence in research organizations and universities. What are the determinants, the consequences, and the efficiency also of institutional measures in tackling gender-based violence. We aim to produce insights too, by translating these findings into concrete policy recommendations, tailored tools for research organizations and universities, and capacity building activities to support stakeholders in eradicating gender-based violence. But these insights that are produced will always only be meaningful if they are actually used. And so we try to we aim to empower research organizations and universities such as you, who are here this morning, to implement effective policies through capacity building programs with a co-creation approach of the tools. So up until now, UniSAFE researchers have analysed the prevalence and impacts of gender-based violence via data has gathered through the UniSAFE survey, which has been implemented among 42,000 students and staff in 45 research organisations and universities. We've analysed organisational responses and infrastructures by data gathered by in-depth case studies, interviews of researchers at high risk of gender-based violence, and a strategic mapping of institutional policy responses in 15 member states. And then at a macro level, we've also looked into the legal and policy framework through extensive mapping by national experts in 27 European states and 3 associated states. So what have we produced up until now? If you go to the UniSAFE website, and on the output section, you'll find an overview of what we have produced now, all openly available. So we've, at least what you find on the project website. So we have the conceptual framework that we've been using within UniSAFE. You also find the key results from the UniSAFE surveys that are summarized in a report. We also have shared the multi-level analysis of this survey data along this 7P model. You'll also find a summary of the analysis with interviews with researchers and case studies of institutional responses and a policy brief on project findings. About the policy mapping, which has been so extensive that we've been looking into the national context in 15 countries, more than 30 countries, institutional policies, and this has been summarized in a European baseline. I want to say any more about it, go to the UniSAFE website and you'll find all about it in the output section, and also in the map. Have a look at the interactive map that we've developed. It gives a good overview of the different policies in different countries and how they compare with each other. Coming soon, we have policy recommendations with white papers, recommendations to policymakers, RPO management, a policy brief. And if you hear this, because we're also working on a toolbox for universities and research organizations. The toolbox is still in the making, and it also includes a step-by-step guidance to set up awareness-raising campaigns. So we're here, so I'll now pass the floor on to Luke to tell you more about this tool. In any case, please, if you would like to follow the UniSAFE to find out about the next outputs, please subscribe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Colette, for this short presentation. Then without any further ado, we can continue with the presentation of the step-by-step guide. So I give the floor to my colleague, Panayota.
Yes, of course. So I guess you can see my screen. Perfect. So moving on to the second part of our webinar, the brief presentation of the step-by-step guide for awareness-raising campaigns for universities. So as you may already know, awareness-raising campaigns are an essential element in the prevention of gender-based violence in research institutions and universities. They aim to educate the academic and research community about the importance of this issue, and it shows a commitment in combating any social challenge, in our case, gender-based violence. So this step-by-step guide aims to be a practical tool for representatives from universities and research institutions that would like to learn more about setting up such a campaign, or they're interested in replicating the inspiring practice using the template designed by UniSAFE, which we will present later. So it is addressed to communications officers, equality and diversity officers, or any other staff interested in the campaign design. So this guide is available in UniSAFE's website, and you will receive it after our session. And it presents the basic steps as presented in the next slide, which are the creation of the campaign, where you design your strategy, you bring on board allies and actors, and followed by the step number 2, the launch of the campaign. And of course, Step 3, the evaluation of the effectiveness of the campaign using indicators and feedback inputs. Today, we will briefly present the steps with supporting examples, and you will find more details for each of these elements in the online guide mentioned. So the first step, the first phase starts with the concept creation and ends once you have a full strategy and set of materials to launch your campaign. As a first action, you should set up your working team. The working team is responsible for the design and implementation of the campaign strategy. And here you need to identify important actors such as the equality officers, perhaps staff members from the communication department, students, advocacy group, anyone who has unique experience and expertise. Your aim is to have a diverse range of resources and expertise for better results. So moving on, as a next action, you need to clearly define what you want to achieve. Is it to build an awareness campaign for what is or isn't acceptable behavior related to gender-based violence? Do you aim to inform students for the different forms of gender-based violence? Services provided by the university? So at this step, define clear objectives of what you want to accomplish and set achievable results with clear indicators that we will discuss as well later. So this definition of objectives also helps you define your target audience, the key group that you aim to target. Then you need to determine the budget of the campaign. Include here costs related to printing materials, to staff hours, anything related to the implementation of the campaign. Now, in order to deliver a clear message effective to your target audience, consider perhaps testing the campaign, or even better, conduct focus groups before developing the campaign in order to identify the needs of your target audience. Remember to keep your message short, clear, and concise, using positive and inclusive language, and have messages that are trauma-informed and be sensitive to the experience of survivors or victims. For example, you may want to avoid implied victimization and instead focus on survivor empowerment. Now, moving on, the awareness-raising campaigns can take different forms. It could be social media campaigns, it could be workshops, seminars, perhaps events dedicated to a topic, competitions, exhibitions, challenges, and many, many more. You can use various channels to utilize the promotion, in order to promote these awareness campaigns, either in online or offline format, or perhaps a combination. Here, you need to choose channels that are more likely to reach to your target audience. For example, if your audience is undergraduate and master's students, then perhaps social media might be one of the best channels in combination with an offline format. The help of the communication department of your organization could be critical for this decision. Therefore, have in mind to have them on board. If you decide to go for an offline format, you need to place your material in strategic locations. For example, you need to identify high traffic areas where your material will be seen. If your target audience, again, is students, then university libraries, cafeterias, student centers might be the ideal location. When you design your campaign now, consider consulting expert designers, because you want to create an effective design, which is eye-catching, it's visually appealing, and it conveys your message clearly and effectively. Remember to always provide information for support services and resources offered internally at your organization or externally. It could be helplines, it could be email addresses, etc. And lastly, remember to get your approval either before or during different stages of the creation process. It is important to identify the relevant stakeholders and obtain approval in a timely manner to ensure that the campaign, of course, can move. Talking about time, we move on to the duration and time frame of your campaign, which of course depends on the type of your campaign, its size, the duration of the internal meetings, and approval time. So at this stage, remember to set a detailed timeline outlining any activities or events that take place. A good example of launching a campaign could be to choose international days or consider avoiding intensive periods, such as exams or holidays. And an important question that you need to address in step 1 is related to step 3, the evaluation. How will you measure the success of your campaign? Is it by the numbers of attendees of your event? Is it by the numbers of video views or the numbers of people who scan a QR code, the feedback survey results? So here you need to remember to set specific qualitative and quantitative indicators to measure the impact of your campaign. And last but not least, ensure that you design a campaign that takes into consideration intersectionality. Address any other social dimensions so that your campaign can be accessible as possible, as accessible as possible. Can people with disabilities attend your events or activities? Do international students who don't speak the local language are aware of the services offered? Consider making the materials available in multiple languages and ensure that the messaging and outreach are culturally sensitive and inclusive of diverse perspectives and experiences. So if you have addressed this point so far, then it means that you have a set of material with strategy ready to be launched. Vasya will tell us how to do that in step 2.
After having a full strategy ready and a set of materials and addressing all the above mentioned points that Panayota explained and presented to you, you have 2 more important steps. With step 2, you have the launch, therefore the implementation of the actual campaign. For this particular step, we propose a few indicative activities. The list is, of course, not exhaustive, that depend on the size of the campaign and the publicity you foresee. You can consider launching and issuing a press release. This press release could be more effective if it includes a particular call to action, for example, a pledge signed by students or staff members across the country or your region to generate some more interest about your campaign, more than your university premises. You can consider starting with an event, inviting speakers, having testimonials or special performances and other activities at the same time. Or you can identify key influencers and actors from different groups to reach out to specific target audience that you have defined during the step 1. After launching your campaign and somehow in parallel with that, you need to have in mind the evaluation of the campaign, which is key, to be honest. You need to think of how to measure the short-term and also the long-term impacts of your campaign. You can do that by using qualitative and quantitative indicators that are proposed to be discussed with your teams during the step 1. In this particular step for the evaluation, you can also try and generate a report to convince the key stakeholders and decision makers in your institution. This is in fact a powerful tool, as you will know with the evaluation report how to adjust future campaigns, what is working and what is not working, and you will capture what is missing and what it can be effective in your institution. Remember that gender-based violence is a complex issue and your campaign is just one step forward addressing it. Therefore, you need to think beyond the campaign. With sustainability, the campaign can be part of larger activities at your institutions, and if effective, it can be somehow incorporated in your policies of the campaign. Finally, we will have some tips, some do's and don'ts that we have generated from the inspiring practices. So in order to avoid victimization and provide a trauma-informed campaign and a safe access to resources, we recommend to have on your material emergency call numbers that are available 24/7 hours for 7 days. This could be a national call number or an external organization if you do not have this facility inside your institution. And it will be better if you also check and liaise with those numbers if possible about the timeframes that you will launch your campaign, so they are informed that they might receive phone calls from your institution. You can consider also providing psychological support to the victims and survivors and the bystanders. Except for that, please note that the campaign is an opportunity to have further engagement, and you can do that by launching a pledge or a specific call to action along with the campaign, not only to inform and raise awareness, but raise awareness beyond the institution and beyond the target audience. Your campaign could be also an opportunity to give a platform for people that have experienced or their bystanders to share their stories with the institution publicly or with the facilities that are provided for them. You should be careful with aligning the messages with the university's policies. You can do that actually by being playful. It depends on the tone of voice that you want to give to your campaign. You can use humorous language, slang language, or serious tone. You will see two examples that are using both these approaches. The information you will provide in your set of materials needs to be accurate and up to date. And you may use all creative responses like storytelling, multimedia, and art installations, whatever you can think of that could be eye-catching, that can have a visual design, and so on. And you should have in mind that this is not a one-person show, but rather a collective effort. So please engage and share the ownership of the campaign. Finally, the guide that you will receive after the webinar has a set of inspiring practices that will be also presented here. For the inspiring practice of the University of Namur, we have also an online tool which is available on the UniSAFE website that you can use and replicate the exact campaign and tailor it to your institutional needs according to the steps that we have presented. We will also present the campaign Don't Turn a Blind Eye. Thank you very much for this. And if you have any questions, you can post them on the chat box about the step-by-step guide. So in this step, we will move to the presentation of the University of Namur and the poster campaign to raise awareness about sexual harassment. We will have with us Andrea Inacio Ribeiro, who is the Communication and Marketing Officer at the University of Namur. Andrea, if you share your screen, please.
Yes, hello. I think my screen is shared.
Yes, perfectly, thank you.
Okay, so hi everybody, and thank you UniSAFE to have the opportunity to be there today. My name is Andrea and I represent the University of Namur today here, and I'm going to explain you how did we build an awareness campaign based on sexual harassment. I'm in this project because my colleague Colleen, who is the main person in contact for the FAR, invite me for my communication and marketing skills for this campaign. So at first, I'm going to explain you what is the FAR. Then I'm going to explain you why did we choose the sexual harassment as a topic for the campaign. And then I'm going to take a time to explain you in detail the constructions of the campaign. And I have some recommendations also for the end of the presentation. So the FAR here at the university, it's a protection cells that fight against harassment and violence. And it was created in 2021 here at the university. And the FAR has three missions. The first one, it's a training. We have also awareness and an help desk for students. So to have little explanation. So the training is for students, but also for employees. So far organized trainees where people can learn how to react and how to support a victim. The awareness part, it's linked to the communication, and here the campaign. And the help desk, so it's my colleague receive students who have a situation linked to harassments, and so they can contact the FAR through email, by a form, but also by phone, and my colleague receive them and have a meet and give to the students the different steps and support that students can undertake if they want. So now I'm going to explain you the campaign more properly. So this is the students. The students decided to talk about sexual harassments because after some conversation, we realized that the most frequent type of harassment in the campus is the sexual. So students decided to talk about it and sensibilize people to this. So consent and harassment, sexual harassment. And now I'm going to explain you in detail how did we build it. So like Pan, I think, said, we have a working group with 10 students. The main contact of ours are my colleague and I, a communication officer. The students was invited to the working group by email, and we have like 10 students. And with this working group, we had 4 meetings. And I'm going to explain you what did we do during the meetings. So for the first meeting was a brainstorming during what we talk about, what is harassment. So my colleague explained the different types, so the moral, sexual, but also the physical harassments. And at the end of this first meeting, students say, okay, we want to talk about sexual harassment because for us this is really important, and like I said, it's the most frequent on the campus. So it was the first meeting, more theoretical. And for the second meeting, I wrote a benchmarking of serious harassment campaign created in Belgium. And I shared with the group the do's and don'ts that I think it was important. And due to that, with the group, we could decide what we want to keep from these different harassment campaigns. So for example, we decided to not have negative message, but more positive, and try to talk to different targets. So the witness targets, the victim, but also the abuser, have 3 different messages. And before talking about the third meeting, I just want to show you one of the harassment campaign that I shared during the benchmarking in the working group, at the working group. So I chose this campaign and students because students really like this campaign, and this campaign allow us to have a lot of ideas for on own campaign. For example, here you can see that they have 3 targets, 3 messages, and 3 colors to identify them. And students say, okay, it's a really good thing to do, and it's visual, so maybe we can do it also. So if you can see the green one, it's for witness. The blue or violet one is for victim, and the red one is talk to abuser. And also, we liked the message of the campaigns. If you take the witness one, the message is, how can we support a victim? And there are different tips that we can have in mind if you're in kind of situation as a witness. This poster also allow us to be careful to the typography because I think it's not really a good typography for visual. And also have the poster allow us to be careful to the information that we want to put on it and where we are going to diffuse the campaign. For example, here there are a lot of more information and good information, and I think this kind of poster had to be in the waiting room, for example, or in a space where students eat and have time to read all the informations. So yeah, after the first meeting and the second meeting, so we know that students want to talk about sexual harassment. We want to talk to 3 different targets, have positive message, and be care to different points of typography. And so then for the first meeting, each student wrote his own message that they want to share through the campaign. And we realized that students created like scripts and dialogues. So the idea of creating chats came up, and we decided to put this chat on a smartphone because yeah, the target audience will be the young people, so students. And I think we all agree to say that a conversation, a chat activates human curiosity. Like we want to know what is in the chat, what is talking about. And also during the first meeting, students want to have a power and identical sense on each poster and link to each target. And I'm going to show you in detail in a few minutes the posters. And for the final meetings, so I wrote a poster template, and with the working group, we decided what we want to keep, and the students gave their feedbacks to adjust as much as possible to the student audience. After I present you the poster, I just make a timeline to maybe show you in a different way. So from October to December, we had so the 4th meeting with the working group and create the campaign. Our wish was to diffuse the campaign online in January, because here in Belgium, students are home in January to study for their exams. And the idea was in February to diffuse the campaign offline, so I'll put the posters in different parts of the campus. But unfortunately, we have some internal discussions that make not possible to make this diffusion, and the campaign was only launched in March. After the diffusion, my colleague also organized a week harassment event on the campus, and every day we had conferences, debates, also move projection linked on harassment and consent, and our campaign was diffused in each part of the event. And in September, so 2022, we reunite the working group and have a debriefing on the campaign. And so now I'm going to show you the 4th poster and go in details to explain you each one. So here you have the poster where that the target is the abuser. And in general, in each poster, we have the same background. So here it's a known place in Namur, known for its insecurity. And so it's next to the river. They are a little way with really dark, and there are no lights. And quite every student know this place, and it's really uncomfortable to be there only. So we choose to this image for the background of the posters. You can see in the top of right the power and identical centers that we choose for this poster. And in the footer, we decided to put the practical info, so how to contact the FAR by email, through the website, and also we put a QR code. So the QR code it's linked to the website, but also to the campaign, so people can download the image and share with friends and other students if they want. and it was for us a way to evaluate the campaign, but we know that it's not the first goal of the campaign, so we are not really sure that it's going to bring us a lot of data. And here we choose the red color because in communication, red is linked to attract attention, but also to danger. And yeah, in each poster we use slang words here. So yeah, and also another thing, each poster have a title for the chat, and this title is linked to two parties in Namur that students are going there. So students can identify him through the chat. And here in this portal, the situation is this one. So if a student is telling to his friend that he had sex with a specific girl, and the friend tries to explain that maybe the girl did not consent because she was drunk. And the goal for us is to explain that we have to have the consent for people before any intimate contact, but it's also a way for us to explain, if I can say, a positive way to explain to someone that what you do, it's not right. So here the guy is not say to this friend that you are a rapist. No, we try to say, okay, you have to have the consent of the people. So we try to have a positive way to explain to this friend that he do, it's not right. Here in this post is for the victim, and we choose the blue color because the meaning in marketing is into confidence, trust, and calm. And the situation is the next one. So sexual harassment happens during the last party, and the victim explains what happened and feels guilty because he or she did not do did nothing to stop it, and he said not even scream. And the friend explained that is not he or her fault, and that she should not feel guilty for that. And the goal so is to remove the victim guilt and encourage people to talk to someone close and to speak freely. And so I have two other posts, and the two next posts have witness as a target because we have two goals that we want to share. So we decided to make two posters. And we choose the orange color because it's an attractive color in communication. And the situation is the next one. So here a student witnesses a girl being arrested in a public space. And he doesn't know how to react properly and tells his group of friends. And the idea and the answer of the friends is to encourage support and solidarity by intervening and interrupting the interaction with the harasser. So the response of the friends is, okay, go close to the girl and pretend you are his friend. So it's the answer of the friends. And the other post, always for the witness, the situation is the next one. So here a student takes news from his friends who suffered sexual violence the day before, and the victim seems unwell and shocked. And here the goal and the response, the answer of the friend is encourage support and solidarity, but by accompanying the person to the health staff. So here it's to the far. So it was the fourth poster that we made for the campaign. So yeah, it was the fourth posters. If you have any question, they are the chat and maybe we can answer after. And now I have some fourth recommendations. And here the first one, we think is the most important, is we had to work with the students because they are the target audience. So we had to listen to them and their needs. So for us, it's really the most important recommendation. The second one is to insist on working with the department that have final decisions, because for our case, we want to diffuse the campaign in January and February, and we are not unavailable to do that because some internal discussions. So maybe if we was insisting on working with them, we are not this delayed on the diffusion of the campaign. Here the third recommendation, it's linked to the missions of the FAR, so the help desk for students, because when we do the debriefing on September, students report that some students are afraid to contact the FAR because they don't know if what they're going to say will be confidential, and of course is it. So maybe we, in the next campaign, we have to insist on this confidential aspect. And the last recommendation is to have a versatile campaign. So we are not, could not do it, but we think it's really important to have online and offline campaign. And for the online, of course, on social media, but also in the intranet of the campus, diffuse the campaign through it. So for me, it's all that I can say for you. So thank you for the attention, and maybe there are questions and we can answer after. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrea, for these very interesting presentations and all the steps of the creative process that you presented. And also the recommendations are very important to learn from each other. You may post any questions that you have in the chat box. We will select them and we will address them during the Q&A session. But in the meantime, we can continue with the presentation of Brigitte. So Brigitte, could you please share your screen? We will continue with the inspiring practice, Don't Turn a Blind Eye. Yes, we can hear you, but we cannot see your screen yet.
So,
thank you.
So I can begin? Okay. Okay, I first want to thank you to be present at this webinar, then to thank UniSAFE to give me the opportunity to expose the why and how of our campaign at the University of Geneva and what we can learn of this experience. And finally, to thank you, Vasia, for the perfect organization of this webinar. And thank you also for the presentation. They show that we are on the same line. So now getting to my subject. Preparing a campaign on stereotypes in 2012, I discovered the book of Brigitte Grésy, a French bestseller published in 2009 on ordinary sexism, a totally unknown concept at that time. A book showing how sexual harassment is based on ordinary sexism, lack of respect, and last but not least, misogyny. Both book and writer inspired me definitively for the future concept of the campaign we launched 4 years later. Now, why a campaign on a very unpopular thematic in my university? Unpopular because people do not want what is supposed to give a bad publicity to damage the reputation of a very well-known institution. So why a campaign despite of a similar resistance? First of all, because in my function as head of the Equality Office, I heard a lot of testimonies in my small office from students, PhDs, but also professors, some being harassed and some observing harassment. I was somehow shocked and fed up with the inefficiency of my personal involvement. talking to a dean, talking to my rector, trying here and there to better the situation, but actually working on a very personal level and not on the structural aspect of the phenomenon. Then being involved at national, but also international level with other people working in the field of equal opportunities or gender studies, I could notice that we were all facing the same difficulties. Finally, a group of students was the detonator. They built in 2015 an association called SELFS in my university and organized a conference on harassment with testimonies, professor of law, and other specialists. This conference and their real anger showed me that it was the right moment to try something on a bigger level. All this put together, I was pretty convinced of the necessity of a campaign. But working in an academic institution, I thought it better to have more solid data with a real academic study on the thematics. So Claire Fanico, researcher in psychology, in psychosocial science, was mandated to do the study. And we were even surprised with the result and the importance of the phenomenon of sexism and harassment in our university. We presented the results first to the deans and the presidency. They were impressed, felt uneasy, and decided to do something. It is very important to have them with you. To be on the safe side, we presented them every step, every slogan, every poster during the preparation of the campaign, so nobody could criticize it afterwards. They were implied and agreed so. We had also a press conference presenting the study to a larger audience. Then after the presentation of the study, the presidency decided to build a commission composed of a vice president, a dean, a vice dean, a professor from the gender studies, 2 students, the directors of HR and law department. We also invited specialists to present us, for example, single points of contact, cells, and so on. This group was a necessity because even we could have done the campaign much quicker alone. You absolutely need partners within the institution. And even though we noticed resistance during the preparation, but also during the campaign, people asking after some months, even women, to get rid of the posters, arguing that they were disturbing, they were giving a bad image of the institution, as if the suffering resulting of existing harassment and insecurity give a good image of an institution. Then during this period of preparation, we were talking about the target audience in academia, very important, how many students and employees, male, female, and others from diverse backgrounds we have to deal with. So you have here what we have as students and international, national, speaking French, speaking other languages. And also diverse ages from 19 more than to 65. And also to be aware that people are coming and going every year, from students to professors in the institution. So you have to repeat the message after the campaign. Then we had to decide which type of campaign we wanted. Working at national and international levels, I saw a lot of posters or campaigns with a sad woman or a big guide behind her. I thought it counterproductive and reducing the message. Also because the victims and the perpetrators are so diverse. They can be professors, PhD students, employees in the administration, people from here or there. So I definitely wanted to work on words, only words. So we had the testimonies, the words quoted exactly from the victims or the perpetrators in the language collected from our daily life in the institution and from the study. But how to elaborate this raw material? How do you want to work with words only? With which words do you choose? And how do you combine them? Maybe Do you use colors and so on? So we choose an agency, Cavalcade, which is specialized in slogans and big public campaigns for the city of Geneva, for instance. Our surprise was to work with two guys who were as determined as we were and as shocked as we were with the phenomenon. Sometimes we had even to slow them down because of too strong and direct slogans. Then the campaign with the agency, we decided to divide it in two periods, some sort of a teaser during the first week in November 2017. We printed slogans on circles with sticks to the ground all over the buildings without comments, only announcing by email the launching of a campaign the next Monday. Then the week after, the posters, mostly in French, but some in English, were sticks on the walls and windows all over the places with the official launching of the campaign. We had an official press conference, sent invitation to all mailing lists, and were present in the newspaper at the University of Geneva, but also in the social media. During this day, people could register a small video. It was then presented on YouTube. The agency was also very active. Nobody was able to ignore it anymore, as well internal as external. It was a public campaign showing that academia, like the rest of the society, was experiencing sexism and harassment. A campaign alone with slogan is not enough. We were present in each faculty during this week with our round tables, with specialists, with small conferences, presentation for students and others. We presented the guide, Don't Turn a Blind Eye, Sexual Harassment, Learn, Prevent, Protect, published in French and English, offering the possibility to know more about harassment, to know what to do as a victim, as a professor, as a testimony. And the two psychologists, independent from the institution, of the cell group Confiance, the single independent point contact for members of the institution, were also present during all the meetings. There is also a phone number, a specific phone number you can reach every day and at any time. Then we tried each year to do one or two new posters lately on LGBTIQ thematic, for instance, opening to other victims of harassment. We had also in the posters victims being women, but also victims being men. Then the same for the perpetrators. Then I wanted not to stay on the campaign, but to go further. And so I proposed with a colleague from Strasbourg to do an international conference on sexism and sexual harassment with the LERU, the League of European Research University. The idea was accepted, and we did it last June in Geneva. It was a big exit with specialists and keynotes from all over Europe and more than 200 participants. The Professor Lisa Uzu presented also at this occasion the UniSAFE project. The idea was to reconcile research with the field, to talk about communication, and last but not least, about the cost of harassment for institutions. We are finishing the publication of the proceedings. I will send them to Vasia. If you want to, you can look at some parts of the conference on our website. We are in the world of campaign, of prevention, and dealing with a long-run systematic and structural phenomenon, so that is difficult to get rid of it in one shot, but also to measure the results. Of course, impatient, I was disturbed by the discrepancy between the campaign and the tool developed and the resistance to real changes. Difficulty to make understand the importance of a new reminder of the campaign every year, even twice a year, because of the people coming and going, to repeat the message at every occasion officially, to change some administrative and legal procedure which make the victim even more victim, to make people really work together and find solution, to make people really proud of this campaign, as many institutions in Switzerland, but also in Europe and even in Brazil, adopted it and adopted our posters. Maybe it was a little bit too early, but I know that big changes are on their ways and that they are based on this campaign, which broke definitely the big silence. Harassment was no subject at UniSAFE before 2017. And since then, a lot of researchers, students in many faculties are launching events, campaigns with the support of part of the hierarchy, which is a strong sign. The Clash campaign, you can see, was a campaign launched in March 2021 by students in the Faculty of Medicine with the support of professors. It's a big deal in this medical milieu. Thanks to a vice rector, very dynamic, we have a website on respect, and thanks to a good work between the HR and the Equality and Diversity Office, we have now new guidelines and people are trying hard and seriously to work together in order to prevent harassment. So for me, even it is not perfect, even we can do better and have to, there is now a consciousness that will not disappear. We broke the silence. And don't forget to make great women visible. You respect better people you know and admire, I think. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Brigitte, for this inspiring presentation. We will move now to the questions and answers session. And we see that you have already started posting a few questions. Panayota?
Yes, of course. So we have the first question. I think this refers to Brigitte, or perhaps both of our guest speakers. How have you dealt with the objections that the campaign is tarnishing the reputation of the institution, that it gives the impression that the school is an unsafe environment? So I understand that. How did you deal with the resistance that you mentioned, coming perhaps internally from the university, that actually the campaign kind of had hurt the reputation?
So it was very funny because we did the campaign in November, and in October we had the Me Too issue. So really one of the arguments was, even before I was telling them, if we do not do something, and in any case, we will have someone who is going to go on the social media and criticize the university and give a very bad image. So it is really much better to do the work really, and do it before
Yeah.
for the explosion. Huh?
Yeah, indeed.
And they were convinced because we had really the proof that it exists. So you cannot deny it, and you have to do something. If not, people are going to tell you you are doing nothing. What a rector are you? And so it's really better to be proactive.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We have another question coming up. Is it so sad that we have to deal with this issue in academia? How can we promote this issue in the codes of the university? I think this can be addressed from both of you if you wish.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, of course. I understand it's more of a concern. Like it is indeed sad that we have to deal with such issues in academia. So how can we promote these issues?
Yes, I think it's really a pity we have to deal with this, because I can tell you a small story. My secretary was not from the academic milieu. And coming to the University of Geneva, she had the big idea. She thought it was really the world of science, of knowledge, and so. And she was really very perturbed when she noticed that even in academia, with professors, with students, where you have to learn things and to share knowledge, you have to deal with this. I mean, we people, and it's all over the world and all over institution. It's sad, but it's so. But I really think that there is a change now. There is really a will to change things and to do something, even if not perfect in a perfect way. But there is a consciousness,
Indeed.
Yeah,
Thank you,
maybe I have.
Andrea, please.
Yeah, so I think here in the University of Namur, so we are discussion because, like I said, we created a unique cell really just for this kind of situation. So we think that things are really changing, and university and persons like the CEO know that. So we have a lot of reports from students before the existence of the FAR. So I think really things are changing, and for us the campaign was a little way also to make FAR know, so the notoriety of the FAR, because this was a new thing. So the campaign was a way for us, and how to say, an argument for the campaign. It was FAR is open for students, so students have to know who is FAR. So it was also a way for us to argument the campaign.
I wanted to thank you. I like your campaign very much. Huh? Very.
Oh, really? Thank you. Yours is really, really good also. Really.
Very pushy, very provocative, and it's good.
This is the students. So
they are good. They are good. They know.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Andrea, can we also ask you the question related to the resistance? Perhaps have you received some comments following up the launch of your campaign? How did you deal with that?
Reaction after the campaign?
Yeah, but coming in terms of resistance, how have you dealt with that? Have you received such feedback?
Actually, the feedback that we had from the campaign was from the students, but also from externs of the university, and they are really good. So students, we really can learn the chats, and we identify him through it. So from the students, it was really positive, and external things that it was real powerful, and also good to give the students the opportunity to say what they want, because it's really strong words, and we have to deal with this with the general service of the communication from the university, and it was the difficult part. It's to have the opportunity to diffuse this kind of message, but we arrived to the final objective.
Yes, indeed, it was a brave step for indeed. Thank you so much. So another question that I think I can address to both of our speakers. How did you get more men on board? Brigitte, you mentioned some couple of names of men who were passionate about the topic and were part of our work. So the question is, how do we encourage more men to be on this journey? And perhaps Andrea can also tell us from the perspective of students, were students, male students on board? Brigitte?
Yes. I mean, during the week of the presentation, we had a lot. It was very funny because in science, in the Faculty of Science, we had a lot of young men coming with questions: how do we do with women, and so with girls, and so it was really somehow nice. And there was the resistance from a professor, but we talked with him. And we really wanted to have, we had the Dean of the Faculty of Science, a man with us during the whole procedure. It was very important to have a man. But it is the difficulty. I don't know how it is in other universities, but each one I was doing as a head of the Equal Opportunity Office, a lot of conferences. And it was always the same. You have 100 women and 10 men. Even a conference by a man, 4 men, it was the same. So it's really, it will change really when
Mhm.
we will have 50-50%, because
Yeah.
we are 50% of the society. And sorry, but also, therefore, your campaign in Namur is also very important, because during the conference, we learned that it is harassment is very present between students, not
Yeah.
only for me. In my mind, it was the old professor with the young PhD, but it's not the fact. The fact is there is also a lot of harassment in between students, and so we
Yes.
have to deal with it also. Therefore, your
Mhm.
campaign was really, really nice, really interesting.
Great, thank you for this. Andrea?
Yeah. So yeah. So when you talk about the men's, the importation of the men's. So here for us, for example, in the working group, we have like not 50-50, but maybe 60-40. So
Yes,
it was quite equal. We have men students and girl students, and all are really in the same mind, in the same vision of the situation. So yeah, for us it was a good thing to do, to see us and to watch this context and the situation. And yeah, on both is a man, and it was really happy to see this working group and this situation move on. So I think things are changing really.
yes.
Good to hear it, indeed. Andrea, I would like to stay with you as we have a question that it's been addressed for you. Had you presented the results from the survey to the university before launching the campaign?
The results of your survey?
It says the survey. I think it's the result of the discussions you had with the students before launching the campaign. Have you presented them? Perhaps here is addressed to the university, but I guess someone in the leadership.
On both, so the CEO from our department knew everything that we made during the meeting. So we write a report after each meeting with the students, and so own chief reports the information to the vice president of the students. So everybody knows what we do after each meeting. So yeah, I don't know if
Great, thank you. Another question, I think it goes for both of you. Do you have any comments, recommendations to deal with the broader gender concept than the binary? I think both of you have also mentioned intersectionality, but if you would like to add something more particular, Brigitte?
You mean including other type of victims?
I understand that this is about the gender concept that goes before the binary male-female, perhaps including non-binary people.
Yes. We were from the beginning. I mean, of course, the most people harassed are women, but we included in the posters a young man being harassed, and also a perpetrator being a woman. So we really tried to open as much as possible. And 2 or 3 years later, we had 2 posters really on LGBT and trans questions. So really, it's important to open, of course. But the main subject is always the same. It's really women, young women being harassed. Huh?
Yeah, we are totally agree with this. Then if we read the chats, we try as much as possible to not gender, so be general, but it's not always easy, but we try to do our best on this because it's important.
Yes, really
of course.
Okay, great, thank you both. Another question. This is more a practical question from someone who they're thinking ahead of the campaign. So we're thinking about producing a video with statements against gender sexual harassment, from different members of the university. Since the topic sexual harassment is strongly related to power structures, should this video show people from the top management or not members across the university, for example, students, secretaries, etc.? what you recommend based on your experience?
I don't.
Yes.
I'm not sure I understood the second part. Or not members across the university, perhaps. Can you rephrase the question so we can go back? Or if someone else understood that, please feel free to send us a message. But
I can answer, yes, I can say something. I think it's very important that the top management and the presidency has a really clear language about this, but not only clear language, but also clear actions. Because if not, you are working on the level of students, on the level, you know, and it's very important, but you have also to have always a message coming from above. And so we had, during this week of presentation, we registered some videos, and the rector told something, some deans told something, and then they were produced. But of course, you have to have persons who are completely okay. Huh? So, but it's really important. It's really, and also to have the financial support, because it's not easy to do a campaign. And if you want to have an agency, you have to have money. So it's not only the students who are going to work like mad and doing their studies and doing a campaign. So you really need also a strong financial investment of your institution. It's really important. If not, you are going to kill yourself and to kill the people who are working hard on the subject. Huh?
Great. I think that was addressed, because the question was asking if we should involve all members to be featured in the video or only top management, but indeed inclusion is the main goal. Andrea, if you'd like to add something on this question.
Yeah, I maybe not understand all the questions, sorry. But I think, yeah, managers are important because of the final decisions. For own experience, we had some problems linked to that, because for us it was not just talking about sexual harassment, but it was also we have a timeline to talk about the FAR, and we had to be quickly, because we want to every students know that if they have any problems linked to harassment, they have a support at the university. So we was really on time, so we move on really quickly, even if we don't have all the supports, but because we want to do something, we want to share to all the campus and students what we are doing. So maybe it was one of own mistakes to do that, because we make the things and have to try to convince the manager at the final of the campaign before the diffusion. So maybe it was one of the own mistakes, because we do everything by with the groups. So yeah, the final decision and the manager is really important during all the campaign.
That's indeed really, really important. Great, thank you so much. We received many messages thanking you for sharing your inspiring experiences and practices. And yes, the recording of today's presentation will be available in YouTube in the next days. You will receive a message from us regarding that. And do we have more time to take one more question before the final question? I think we're okay with timing.
Yes, we have 15 more minutes, so we can take a few more questions.
Okay, perfect. So we have one here. Thank you for the important presentations. Great work you have done. I would like to ask you, how long did it take you in average to prepare and run the campaigns at each university?
So talking about the mental preparation, it was from 2012, and the campaign begins in 2017. But really, it begins in 2015. So you can say more or less 2 years. 1 year for the data, the survey we have done. and then 1 year of preparation, but really 1 year of big job. Huh? So it was really meetings twice a month with the group and really preparing. So you need more or less, yes, 2 to 1 year, 1 to 2 years, if you really want to do a good campaign.
Wow.
It's not an easy job. It's not an easy job.
Yeah, it's not as easy as we think. Andrea?
Yeah, for us it was a little bit different. Like I said, we want to go faster to talk about the problem, but also about the sales of the FAR. So we, like I said, we start to think about it. I think in August or September 2021, and the final, so the diffusion of the campaign was in March 2022. And so, like I said, the meetings was between October and December.
Also, maybe I can, we were beginning from nowhere, huh? So we had to job. If you have data in your institution, if you have groups of so, you can do it in 1 year, of course.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you both. Two more last questions. What do you think about hanging posters in toilets? Is it an effective strategy? I've encountered objections that it doesn't work. So just a slight point on that. One of the third inspiring practice that we have included in the guide is Ask for Angela, which is a campaign that aims to encourage victims of in an appropriate meeting or date to ask for Angela in the bar or the cafeteria that they are probably around, and the staff is trained and is ready to know, they know how to address the Ask for Angela request. And this is usually hung in toilets. So you can find more about this campaign on the guide, but I wanted to slightly just mention that. But Brigitte or Andrea, would you like to, do you have a comment on that?
Yes.
Go.
Brigitte?
Yes. Okay, yes, we had nothing in the toilets, because in the toilets there are always a lot of comments. No, I'm kidding. We had posters in cafeterias, in big halls, in libraries, and so on. We really tried not to have a poster in front of the door of a professor, for instance, because then people are going to say, oh, it is the one who is doing. So we really thought about where to put it, where people are talking together, where people are staying, and so at the entry of the university, for instance, of the buildings. So we really thought of putting them in public spaces.
Excellent, thank you. Andrea?
For us here, so on poster are not on the toilets, but more, like I said, also in library, in the corridors at the faculties, but also here in Namur, each faculty, so each student in faculty have a group and has his own bar owned by the students, and we put the poster there also, so in the faculties, bars of faculties. And just to answer to the question, here at Namur, so not at the university, but in the city, there we have 3 bars who have this campaign of Angela on the toilets, and it's my own idea, and I think it's a good thing to do, but the message has to be powerful. So the campaign of Angela, it's good, and I think in the toilets it's a good place for that. But I think we had to have a good message to put a poster in toilets.
Great, thank you so much both for accepting our invitation, for being with us. It was truly inspiring. We have one more last question, but I think this is an excellent opportunity for us to end this wonderful exchange. So the question is, well, thank you for the great presentation, inspiring work. Given the challenges in some universities to perform activities, campaigns like this, is there any institution external to universities to address the concerning issues of gender violence in academia? Has UniSAFE project thought of this? And indeed, this is one of the main objectives of UniSAFE, is to develop 7P framework model that address the 7 Ps that include prevalence, protection, prevention, prosecution, provision of services, partnerships and policies, holistic approach to tackle gender-based violence in academic context. And the work done so far will be presented and will be our next webinar series offered on the 18th of April, 25th and 2nd of May, 11 Central European time. It's going to be a series of these 3 main parts, which of course will aim to give to participants a comprehensive understanding of what gender-based violence is and what it's the impact on academic environments, but most importantly, to introduce the 7P model to the participants. And similarly to today, we will have some inspiring practices addressing the various Ps. So we encourage you to register. Registration is now open. It's available in the UniSAFE website in the latest news under the news section. So we will, you will of course receive more information about this webinar in the follow-up email received from us. So for now, we would like to ask for your feedback, because it's indeed really valuable to capture your experience. But most importantly, we would like to capture whether you're interested in replicating a campaign and running a campaign at your institution. So you will see that in the exit questionnaire, we will ask some questions regarding that. Of course, we will remain at your disposal for any questions you may have. You will receive the material, the guides, information for the webinars from us. I'm sorry if I'm missing something else, Vasia, perhaps.
One final question. We would love to have your opinion, but one final question to Brigitte and Andrea. Is it okay if the campaigns are replicated from other universities, or do they need to sign a memorandum of understanding? This is one of the questions that we have.
Thank you. I didn't see it. Thank you.
Of course you can. Of course, I would be happy if it is replicated. Of course, the only thing I would like to know, and that people address me, and telling, yes, we are going to adopt this part or this part of the campaign in order to show that it is lively.
All right.
Yeah, the same.
Thank you so much for the presentations and your input. We'll contact you via email to provide you the step-by-step guide, the exit questionnaire if you didn't have the chance to reply, and of course, after the permission of Andrea and Brigitte, their presentations as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much for the.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Andrea.
Bye. Bye, Brigitte.
Bye.